Hey guys, welcome to Real Life School Podcast. I have Juleah Best here, and you guys are in for an incredible episode today. Real Life School is all about taking lessons learned from other people and putting it together in a way that you guys can digest it, you guys can break it down, you guys can relate to it yourselves. But for today, we're going to be talking about single moms. We're going to be talking about the ups, the downs, the good, the bad. We're just going to talk about it because I know, and I do this every week, I meet with a lot of single moms that feel as though they can't get the help, or they're afraid to ask for help. And you know what? You guys are just tired, right? Mm-hmm. Going through seasons, super tired. But for today, I wanted to bring you on and talk about who you are, where you came from when you had your kids, kind of the ups and downs, things that kept you motivated, so on and so forth. So I love you guys. I'm glad that we're able to bring somebody that's been there and done it and willing to share their story with you. So I will turn it over to you, Juleah, and I will do that in a fashion of tell a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up, and how old were you when you had your kids?
Absolutely. Grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and bounced back and forth between Virginia and Knoxville, Tennessee. When I finally graduated high school, moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, met the man of my dreams. And at the time, we always think they're perfect.
Yeah.
True colors didn't show until probably my son was 4. Okay. 3, and my daughter was 1. Had my first child at 23, my second one at 25. And at the age of 25, I decided I'd had enough. It was a challenge. There was, emotional, mental, and physical abuse. And finally, I just tapped out and said, I've had enough. Okay. My kids deserve better. Yep. Made a phone call in the middle of the night, called mom. She came and picked me up in a U-Haul the next day. Yeah. And we left Tennessee, left him there. We only left with baby pictures, their clothes, their bunk beds, and some toys. Car was left behind. Furniture was left behind. I left it all. It just wasn't worth it.
And you were 25?
25.
Okay, so you were 23.
26 at this time because I had her. She was a year old, so I was about 26.
So you were 23 years old. You were living in Virginia Beach.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
So you were born and raised in Virginia Beach. Mm-hmm. Then you moved to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. That's where you met the man of your dreams, from what we're here. Mm-hmm. And then you guys got pregnant. Mm-hmm. 4 years later, you had 2 years later, you had a second one. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what was it going through your mind? Were you guys married?
No.
Not married?
No.
Dating?
I wasn't. We were dating. I wasn't marriage material. He told me that I wasn't good enough. There was always room for improvement and all these mental things that, these men of your dreams tell you.
Manipulation.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just manipulation. Totally.
You have so much potential.
Yeah.
All those things. So I had so much potential, but I was never wife potential. So,
got it.
You live and you learn. Yeah. I learn now, I did wife responsibilities and I did all these things in the girlfriend status. So.
Sure.
Never
so
again.
You guys lived together?
We did.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And Real Life School, we talk about money, we talk about real estate, but the life aspect, and that's what we're sharing your life. Mm-hmm. Did you guys share funds? Did you guys split rent? Let's hear it, baby. Let's talk about it.
I would work 16-hour days, and he could not hold a job, couldn't keep one. Okay. Now, my children actually have an older sister and a younger sister, not mine. So in the 7 years we were together, he was not faithful. Okay. I should have left a long time ago, but the way that I was raised, when you make your bed, you lay in it, you make things work.
Yeah. Did you know that he wasn't faithful when you guys were living together?
After my first child, I found out about some of them, and then they just started coming out of the woodwork. But
But you were a mom.
I was a mom.
You were a mom, and what you were going through was, this guy is the father of my children.
Absolutely.
And that's, for a lot of you ladies out there, that's what's keeping you in the game.
That's the only reason I stayed.
And a lot of it, and I'm not a female, like I don't understand that aspect, but I have assumed, and I've heard through testimony, is I don't want to leave him despite the good, the bad, and the ugly, because he's the father. And I don't feel as though I can do it on my own.
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I know, I'm glad that you feel the same way, because I'm talking to a lot of other single moms and they're like, I can't do it on alone. But when in fact,
you can.
You can. Mm-hmm. All right. You're fortunate enough to have mom still around. Mm-hmm. Mom was like, yeah, you're my daughter. The good, the bad, the ugly, you can always come back home, right, and figure it out. So your mother came, open arms, and said, hey, bad scenario, you're my daughter, kids, let's roll, baby.
Yep.
So you guys roll back to Virginia Beach.
We did. We did. We were living in a hotel at the time, in a Motel 6. And that evening, my mother had bought me a different room. I came home. The changing aspect was I had worked 16 hours at Red Lobster.
Okay.
And it's in December 6th. And I came home and my son was standing outside the hotel room door in a pull-up.
December 6th.
Knoxville, Tennessee, in a pull-up.
Oh my God.
My daughter had nothing on but a diaper. And he said, Mommy, I'm hungry. And I said, that's it. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, we're done.
So I called my mom. He was passed out, completely comatose.
Drugs, alcohol,
all the stuff, face down on the floor. So I grabbed the kids' stuff. We went to the other side of the Motel 6. We had a new room. My mom left that evening.
Yep.
That evening. It was early hours, probably of the 7th. Yeah. And she rented a U-Haul somewhere along the way. And she got there later in the afternoon of the 7th.
Yeah.
We told him we were going to go see the movie with Will Smith and his son. What was that one called? Where he's poor and he's homeless and he's living in a bathroom somewhere.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes. So
The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes. We were supposed to meet him in Knoxville to go see that movie. By the time he came to and he wanted to see the movie, we were already probably in Roanoke, Virginia.
Yeah, I'm out.
We had already left.
Yeah.
And he didn't know we left. I'd had enough.
Wow.
So.
And the kids were 4 and 2 or 3 and 1?
3 and 1. Mm-hmm.
3 and 1. Okay. So, okay. Moms. Also another thing, we have as parents, I got 2 kids. Excuse me. You have 3 graceful years typically. Mm-hmm. Studies have been shown that kids can't remember things typically up until the age of 3. And you know what? I think of it kind of as a blessing in some of these situations. Like new parents, regardless if they're married or not, mom and dad, like nobody's perfect. First child, you're trying to figure things out, right? And for those first 3 years, the mistakes, the lessons learned, the kids don't necessarily remember all that. So I think it's kind of a beautiful way to take, the scenario of all of us parents, and know that we have like a few years of grace while we're figuring it out. So despite being in pull-ups, sitting in the cold, they won't remember that. Nope. Mama will. You moms will remember that. And that was a turning moment for you. Like, I worked my tail off. You're kind of a loser, and my kids are not where they need to be.
They deserved better.
Yeah. Well,
that was the changing point.
That's awesome. Okay. Fast forward, right? You only got 2 kids, right?
Correct.
2 kids living in Virginia Beach. What happened over the next or following 10 years or so? You obviously grabbed your kids. Yep. What did he do?
He actually stayed in Tennessee for a couple years. Okay. I lived with my mom for a little bit. Okay. And then I realized I really needed to get out on my own and needed my own space. Yep. So I did some research, and then there was a shelter in Virginia Beach called the Samaritan House. Okay. So I actually, told them about my situation, how I was fleeing from a domestic violence situation in Tennessee. Yeah. Went into shelter with my 2 kids. We were put up in this huge condo, and every family had their own little room. Yeah. So me and my son and my daughter stayed in the condo for 6 months. They put you through a work program. So you would go to work, and then they put you in subsidized housing. We got our own little apartment at the beach. So the kids shared a bedroom. I had my own bedroom, 800 square feet. It was perfect.
Sure. On the beach.
On the beach. We lived there for, I think, 2 years in subsidized housing. And then I had, went through school. I got my CNA. Yeah. I was working as a registered medication aide in healthcare. Okay. And then I graduated out of the program to where I'm making too much money. I can no longer get help. Yeah. So they put me in the same apartment complex, just in another apartment. Okay. So the same layout. Yeah. Okay. Same layout. Yeah. But now we're paying, higher rent.
Market
rate
rent. Okay. Got it. Okay.
We lived there.
So how long did you live there for?
2 years.
Okay.
2 years maybe.
They're 5 and
we're about, I think right about now they're about 8 and 6.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And about that time, I was going to go back to school to get my bachelor's degree. Okay. And still, Dad, in and out of the picture.
Was he there? Did he ever try to come back and like reconcile things, or try to interject his fatherhood into the kids' lives at all?
Occasionally. Okay. He would take a Greyhound bus in, and I remember when my daughter was probably about 4, he showed up, and she actually ID'd him. She didn't know who he was. Mm-hmm. She said, "You're not my daddy. Show me your ID."
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Wow.
It shows you how much of an absent parent he was.
Yeah.
No child support.
Yeah.
Didn't pay anything.
He's just scraping by. He was just scraping by.
What he was doing, I don't know. We
Yeah.
we didn't communicate.
Meanwhile, you're holding the hat of mom, compassionate heart, the things that moms do, and also the dad's role. Food, shelter, safety, security, while trying to progress your own life too, right? A lot of moms will typically put their whole life into just their kids. But let me tell you something. There's some times where you got to be selfish, because you couldn't be a fantastic mom if you weren't good, mentally healthy, fill in the blank. You can't be the parent, not only the mama role, but the daddy role too, at the same time, right?
Absolutely.
So just remember that. Think about that, single moms out there. Like, the whole point of this podcast is to show you, at the end of this, you'll hear where we're at and how she's made it and all the lessons learned. But okay, so your youngest didn't know that it was dad when he showed up, and he just
no clue.
Popped in and said, "Hey, oh, by the way, I'm your dad. Everything's great." Guys, stop it. Okay.
They deserve better.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so what about the high school years? What happened? How did it go? How was it being a single mom with kids in high school?
It was challenging.
Okay.
It's never easy to be a parent, but as you mentioned, being a single mother and you're taking on the mom role and the dad role, and you're trying to navigate your son through the things that boys go through.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can tell you all about girls. I know all about that.
Yeah.
Did it for 40 years, but I've never been a boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, I taught him the best that I knew how. And,
Sure.
I didn't experience as many challenges with him. There was some, not fitting in, not having the friend circle,
Sure.
and the circle that he did have wasn't where he wanted to be, you know, and there were some challenges like that.
Did you notice that? Did he notice it, and did he voice it, or how'd that work?
I noticed it, and then I would ask him about it, and of course, we denied it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah,
but
everything's cool.
Yeah.
And typically that's where dad would interject and say, hey, son, come on over here and let's talk about this, right?
Absolutely.
But okay.
Yeah.
So can you remember one good story where you're like, hey, obviously high school years, so it's been 15 years-ish, right? Sophomore, junior year, and you're in the thick of things with two in high school, 2 years apart. Think of one story, if you can, that you're like, I'm doing it. And these kids are doing it. And then hindsight, I want to know, like, a story where you're like, oh shoot, I am screwing this up, or this is really hard. Like they want to hear, a high and a low.
Right.
Because a lot of you women out there, both hats, you have highs, you have lows. This too shall pass. Even when you're on the mountaintop, that time rolls. When you're in the doldrums and the depths, that time goes away too. Like this too shall pass. So what was one high and one low?
I think one of the highs was when because we always had a rule in our house. Both my kids started working at 15 because I will provide what you need, your wants. That's your responsibility.
Okay.
You want a new PS4? Okay. You need to earn it. Not me. I'm not doing it.
Okay. So a need would be food,
clothing, shelter. Yep.
Okay. So mama took care of that.
Absolutely.
So there was no rent due or anything like that when they're in high school, when mama was trying to figure things out and they were trying to okay, got it.
No.
So everything they needed, they didn't have to pay for. Got it.
So when my son turned 16, he had a job down at the oceanfront. He was working at a restaurant. Okay. He got a job at 15 there. So he was there almost 4 years. Wow. Started as a busboy. Then he was promoted to food runner, then promoted to expediter. So he worked his way up the ranks.
Good kid.
And at 16, he wanted a car. So my rule is when you work, 75% of your paycheck, once you cash it, goes into savings automatically. The 25% that's remaining, you do whatever you want to do with it. So if you want that PS5, you better save up your 25% until you get enough to purchase it. At the age of 16, he had enough saved from working 1 year to buy the Ford Expedition off of me. So he paid me $4,000 in cash for the truck that we had. I signed the title over to him and it became his.
No kidding. Title. Like you signed the title and said, son, now you own this vehicle. That's so cool. So you structured it financially to say, hey, needs covered. Wants, you want a vehicle? I have one, but you're going to work for it.
Absolutely.
Cool. And $4,000, that you totally gave him a deal.
Absolutely.
And that's what mamas do. Like you want them to work for it. They'll appreciate it. Had you given him the vehicle, he probably wouldn't have taken as good of care, because when you get something for free, it's never felt the way when you have to work for it.
No, you don't appreciate it.
100%.
And I came from a family, my father had this firm belief that, you know, when you learn to drive, you need a big car because you're going to hit things, you're going to run into things. I ran over a brick mailbox. Okay. So when we called her Bessie, she was a big green Expedition.
Big girl.
Oh yeah. And before she actually blew up on the move out here. I can tell you about that later. But prior to that, the front fender was taken off by a garage door in the parking garage where he worked.
Okay.
Wasn't paying attention, ran straight into the door, took off the front fender.
Bumper car.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And both back fenders had 2 dents in them where he was backing into a parking spot. And I mean, she was all beat up, but you know, it was his.
Yeah.
He paid for it.
He owned it.
He also had a responsibility. You get that paycheck, you pay your car insurance. I'm not paying it.
You didn't pay his car insurance?
No, sir. No car insurance, no cell phone.
Gas?
Nope.
So he wanted something that he wanted. He had to pay for it.
Yes,
all of it.
absolutely.
Cool. That's awesome. Okay, what did you do the same thing with the second child?
I tried to, but my son has a very soft spot in his heart for his little sister. So when she became of driving age, he was ready to buy another vehicle. So he applied for a loan. I co-signed with him on the loan. And he said, here you go. It's yours. So he handed the car off to her.
The Expedition.
Mm-hmm. He still had the title in his name, but he gave it to his little sister.
Wow.
So she was responsible for paying her insurance if she wanted to drive, because we have a saying in our house, if you miss a payment, your Nikes work real well. And I expect you to walk back and forth to work because I'm not going to take you.
Or take the bus. Did they ever have to do that?
There was one time that she didn't make the insurance payment. She was supposed to walk to work, but again, Big Brother came in clutch and he took her to work. So
good kid.
Yeah.
Solid kid. Okay. So that shows me and the viewers, like, you're doing something right here.
Yeah.
Single mom, get the finances squared away. Teach your kids how to work for something. They want a car, go pay for it.
Yep.
Okay. What was probably the hardest part of their high school years? Whether it's one of the two.
Ooh,
and if you feel like sharing.
There was some challenges.
Okay.
You know how your parents always tell you that you're going to get back what you did to your parents? So when I was a teenager, there may have been some times that I did some things I shouldn't have. I went out the window in the middle of the night to look at the stars at the ocean and,
Very pretty. Yeah, nobody else was there. It was just you.
It was just me by myself.
You were stargazing by yourself.
And one night we had an alarm system on the house. We had Ring cameras.
Okay.
So, you know, when the door would open, the front door camera would tell my cell phone.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know why I got up. You get, you know, those womanly hunches, you just know.
Yeah.
And I woke up at 2:00 in the morning and I was like, something's off. Now, I have 3 dogs and they're very vocal. You may hear one right now.
Yeah.
And they were quiet. And I said, something's not right. So I went to my daughter's room first because my heart just said check on her.
Daughter.
Room was empty. There was nobody there. Now she has a little Chihuahua, noisy dog. And we have 2 big boxers. They were all in my son's room. Door closed. I opened the door and I said, is your sister? And what? Now, mind you, he looks after her.
Yeah, so he knows.
He already knew.
He knew.
And then I had the inclining to look in the driveway, and my car was gone. And I picked up the cell phone, and I called her, went straight to voicemail. I called right back, and I left a voicemail message, and I said, you have exactly 5 minutes to bring my vehicle back to my house. In the state of Virginia, it is a felony, a grand theft auto. That is my car. You did not have permission to leave this property with it. That phone rang within a minute and a half. And I said, I don't know where you are, but you have exactly 3 minutes and 30 seconds to get back in this house. I said, I'm done. She pulled up in the driveway. She went to go look at the stars.
Yeah.
So we were right near an Air Force base. I mean, Oceana Navy base.
Okay.
We're very close. So she went over there to look at the stars.
Yeah, right.
I don't care who you were with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So she took the car and bounced, and Mama caught her. And it was probably not the first time, by the way. Parents, like,
it happens. It happens.
I sure hope that my kids don't do anything like the things that I did when I was in high school. So.
Right. Well, you know, they say we're going to get it back. So, so she and I, at this point, her father had actually moved to Virginia. So he was living in Hampton. So from where we lived, that's 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
3:00 in the morning, I called him and I said, your daughter's made choices. She doesn't want to follow by my rules. She doesn't want to follow my rules. She wants to live a life like you live. So you know what? I'm bringing her to you. He's still living in a hotel. So he was in a hotel in Hampton. And I drove at 4:00 in the morning across the tunnel.
Night.
Oh, yeah. There was no time lapse.
She came home in the car and you called him and said, hey, dude.
Yep. Here you go.
Here you go.
Yep.
And you were serious. Mama was serious.
I said, pack everything that your father has ever given you. She had a plastic bag with, I don't know, some panties and a t-shirt in it. He didn't even buy that. And I drove her over there, dropped her off at the hotel, and I said, this is the life you want. See you later. And I left.
Can you imagine? I get goosebumps just hearing that. Julia, you were at your wit's end, and it probably had a lot of the same emotions of where you were when you were younger, and you're thinking, chick, I don't want you to do what I did. And you know what? I'll show you what your dad's life is like.
Yep.
And you know what? Boyfriend, father of my children,
that's another
you're
story.
on deck, dude.
Yeah.
You're on deck. That had to be so incredibly hard for you to do that, despite being angry, despite being, the compassionate mom. What else? You didn't think of anything else to do at that moment. That was it. And how long did she live with him?
24 hours.
Yeah. I was going to assume it wasn't very long.
Nope. 24 hours.
Let me ask you a question. Did she ever go stargazing again?
Nope. Never again.
So, lesson learned. When your kids go do something, and you probably talked about, hey, no sneaking out of the house prior to, and she did it anyways.
We have a rule because, as you know, teenagers, they're going to want to experiment. They're going to want to drink. They're going to want to smoke. They're going to want to do these things. If you want to do them, tell me. You can do them with me so I know you're in a safe environment.
Okay.
There's so many things out there that teens can do. You go to a party. Oh, you got GHB in your cup. You don't even know it.
I don't even know what GHB is.
Date rape drug.
Oh, shoot.
Well, yeah, there's all these things that can happen. So I have this philosophy, and I did it with both of my kids. If you want to try something, or you think a wine cooler's nice, by all means. You want to drink it? Let's do it. We'll bring one home,
Yeah.
You think Everclear's nice? That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
I was raised in a completely different era.
Yeah.
But now it's just not safe.
I like that. So everybody has their parenting techniques. They don't, and like I said, when on other episodes, is like nobody hands us a book and is like, this is how you do parenting. This is how you raise children. But I dig the fact that, like, if your kids want to smoke, your kids want to drink, it depends on what they're smoking, what they're drinking.
Right.
But you just want to be there as a parent to guide them through whatever exposure event that they are going through.
Correct.
And, once those kids are out, you can't protect them. They don't have the experience, the creepy crawly sense on when things could go sideways or get bad. That's why moms and dads are there. They're parental advice, you're supposed to protect them. So, okay. So she came back 24 hours later, huh?
Yep. She did, because we've always had a philosophy. This is the life that your father and I had, and I wanted better for you. So this is what I've done. I've went through the trenches. We've shared apartments. We had a little duplex. You guys each had your own room. I slept on a pull-out sofa for a year and a half, and it's not fun.
You gave your kids rooms, and you slept.
I slept on the sofa. Yes. And the bar in your back, I'd get up to go do my CNA job, and I'd be walking around like an old lady like this, like, it hurt? Man.
Yeah.
But they each had their own room. They needed their space.
As a mama.
Yeah. So, there was...
How old were they when they were...
Oh, gosh.
How old was that?
This was after we'd moved out of the apartment. So they were probably 10 and 8. From 10 and 8 to 12, maybe 13, and, 10 or 11. They had their own space. I slept on the couch.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I bought my first house, and they each had their own bedrooms.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. First house. How old were you? So you went from living in hotels to getting assistance from St. Mary's in Virginia Beach? Samaritan House. By the way, incredible. We're going to talk more about that, and I want to sponsor this podcast because that. And then you wound up duplex, and then you bought your own home. How old were you when you bought your own home?
Oh God, 2016. So
2016.
Almost 10 years ago, so maybe 33.
Okay. Single mom, 2 kids, property owner. At 30, you said 33?
I think it was about 33. So whatever 2016 is. So we're...
How old are you?
44. So 33, 34, maybe 35, somewhere in there.
There's so many moms that are struggling that never even think it's possible to own a piece of real estate for themselves. And you did it.
It's easy.
With 2 kids.
Absolutely.
Well, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it can
be done.
It can be done.
It's a whole mind over matter thing. If you know that you want to do something and you put yourself a plan, you put your plan into place, it's a goal. You achieve your goal, then you go on to the next one. And that was it. I always knew I wanted to own my own home.
Okay. Did the kids help pay Did they pay for part of the mortgage?
No.
Did they pay for utilities?
No.
Okay.
Car payment, car insurance,
Okay, that's
cell
right.
phone.
You mentioned that.
Yep.
Okay.
Those are 3 things I won't pay for just because they're not necessities. You don't have to have a phone.
Sure. What about chores?
No.
Okay.
They used to call
There we
me,
go.
they used to call me that I was really strict, or, I was the drill sergeant of the house. My rule was if I leave the home clean, I want to come home to it clean.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I had a dry erase board, still have it on the fridge, and I would put their names on it. And this is what I expect you to do.
Yeah.
Maybe you have counters. Maybe one of you has sweep and mop the house.
Yep.
It was a almost 1,800 square foot home.
Yeah.
Sweep and mop that. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But you know what? You don't pay any bills.
You live here too. This is your home. So you instilled habit patterns. So one day when they buy their own home, which they're going to.
Yep.
Now they know when they have kids, this is what my mom did for me. We learn by example. So when they have kids, it's like, listen, vacuum, sweep, mop, clean, windows. Like, it doesn't just clean itself. Laundry.
They do their own laundry.
Nice. Okay, good.
8 years old, they were doing their own laundry. I wasn't doing it.
Good for you. Okay.
And my daughter was good up until she washed a red shirt with some white clothes and she had pink.
I still do that. I still do that. Oops, that's why I wear like just black and anyways, it's not about me. Okay, so it wasn't easy, was it?
No.
You're not alone, and neither are those other women out there. And I know that you feel like you can't get away, and you're doing 2 roles. You're the dad and you're the mom. You're the disciplinary and the compassionate, heartfelt, the provider and the protector, and also the sounding board and the shoulder to cry on. What would be a parting shot for other single moms? What would you say to them when they are in their darkest, whether it's abusive relationship and they're still living with that guy, or they've just, officially broken ties and said, I can't have this for my kids? What would you say to that lady out there?
You can. You deserve better. Your children deserve better. So don't ever think that you can't. Take the word and break it down. The first 3 letters right there are CAN, and you can do anything. It's a matter of whether you want to or not. If you don't want to, then you're still going to live in the same cycle that you're in. But when you want better for yourself and you want better for your kids, then you do.
Yeah.
You find the resources. The Samaritan houses in your area, the food pantries in your area. Yeah. It's not always just the Department of Human Services, because the governmental agencies don't have your best interest in hand.
No.
They want you to stay in the same cycle that you're in so that they can get more money from the federal government. Yeah. It's not about that. There are so many resources out there that can help individuals, single moms. Maybe you're a married family and you're struggling. It's that season that you're in. You can do it.
Yeah.
When you think that you can't, you won't. But when you think that you can, you always will. Yeah. There's always a way.
I was always going into a fight, whether you think you can win or you think you can't. It's already been won or it's already been lost.
Absolutely. It's all your mentality.
Yeah. 2 kids, where are they now? I know one went to welding school.
Yep.
Okay.
Graduated college, graduated high school last year.
Awesome.
Welding school. We actually moved across the country. My 20-year-old and I, and boy, when I say adventures, took 2 26-foot trucks from Virginia all the way to Colorado.
Okay.
First one was easy. It was like 2 days. No big deal. This is great. Yeah. We can do this again. The second one, we traveled with 3 dogs, 2 boxers and a chihuahua. I drove the 26-foot truck with the chihuahua. Yeah. His car, he has a little GTI in tow. Okay. He drove the Expedition. She was still alive at the time. Between driving the 1,800 miles, blowing a tire on the trailer, I didn't even know. He called me and he was like, you need to pull over. You've lost a tire. And I'm like, no, I haven't. It's not wobbling.
Single moms. If you blow a tire, pull over.
Yeah, I was like, no, I haven't. The truck's not wobbling. It's fine. Yeah.
It's driving great.
Looked in the passenger mirror and there's dust and rubber flying. And I'm like, oh my God, I blew a tire. So I pulled over, called the U-Haul, and they came out and changed it within 45 minutes. We were back on the road.
Solid.
Yep.
Son's thriving.
Yes.
Daughter's graduated high school?
She graduated high school. Okay. She's danced her whole life. So on top of being a single mom, we had competitive dance. And if you've ever been a dancer, you know that ain't cheap.
No.
But yeah, she was a competitive dancer for 15 years. The studio she ended with gave her a position to teach So she stayed in Virginia Beach since June of last year to teach dance.
That's fantastic.
The high school that she went to high school at, she was on the dance team there for 4 years. She was asked to be the assistant coach. So she actually stayed in Virginia Beach, and I'm very proud of her because I've always been, you honor your commitments. If you say you're going to do something, you do it because, your word is all you got.
Yeah,
and if
right.
you don't honor your commitments, what are you worth?
Yeah.
So the one time in her 18 years that I really wanted her to follow me, she said, no, I made a commitment. I'm going to honor it.
And she's been living on her own ever since.
Living on her own.
That is so inspiring. Mm-hmm. Look at you. Well, she had an example. Mama did it with 2 kids. She can do it.
That's what she says. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's inspiring. I'm sure you could just write an actual book on being a single mom. And I know it's not easy. Mm-mm. No, but when you turn back around 5, 10, 15 years later and your kids are making it, they're doing it. We all learn from example.
Absolutely.
Right? So congratulations. Seriously.
Thank you.
You freaking crushed it.
Thank you.
And for all you other single moms out there, her information will be up on the podcast and on social media. If you need somebody to talk to, a reference, or just, hey, I'm going through this, do you have any suggestions? Just send her a private message or reach out to me, and I'll put you guys in contact. We're not supposed to do this on our own.
No.
It
takes a village.
It does.
That's
it really does.
Old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. But.
Yeah. And I want you single moms out there to know, you're wearing 2 hats, but it's not about us, it's about the kids. And when you take your life and you get your kids to being able to do things on their own, like you've made it. Mm-hmm. You really did. You're an inspiration for your
Thank
kids.
You.
That's fantastic. So, Samaritan House?
Samaritan House in Virginia Beach is a domestic violence shelter for women and children. And, they help 1 million individuals. It's really, really good organization in Virginia.
Thank you for that. Whoever funds it, if it's a nonprofit, the Samaritan House, Virginia Beach, it sounds like you had a lifelong impact on a family.
Absolutely.
2 generations. So thank you guys, Samaritan House. And also Real Life School. This is what we do. We talk about money, real estate, and life. And what you just caught was a glimpse of the life aspect. The money is just a tool. The real estate's just a place to live. But the life aspect is, how do we put all of it together to make this place better than it was given to us?
Absolutely.
So you can see this podcast at reallifeschool.com. You'll see all the clips on social media, and give us a follow and a subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories and testimonies just like this one. Take care, guys.